This is Io, one of the 4 largest moons of Jupiter, a terrifying, inhospitable world. It's got huge lakes of molten lava bigger than an average city. There are hundreds of volcanic eruptions that could dwarf a skyscraper. Oh, and its surface is constantly ripped apart by the gravitational force of Jupiter itself. Not a place that's likely to get a 5-star review on TripAdvisor? I mean, could you even spend 5 seconds on Io? Well, let's find out. Before worrying about what's waiting on Io's surface, we first need to figure out how to get there. Thanks to Jupiter's elliptical orbit, the distance between it and Earth is constantly changing. Even when it's closest to us, Jupiter is still 588 million kilometers away. NASA's New Horizons spacecraft took 1 year, 1 month, and 9 days to reach Jupiter. That's the fastest any spacecraft has ever made the journey. But New Horizons was an interplanetary probe without the extra weight of life support systems and supplies needed for humans. With all the additional mass, a crewed mission would take significantly longer, around 2.5 years. Unless, of course, we could travel at light speed, in which case it would take a speedy 33 minutes. But unfortunately, our technology isn't there yet. So, imagine embarking on this lengthy voyage to Io. As the spacecraft approaches Jupiter, the gas giant looms large, its swirling bands and the great red spot dominating the view. Did you know that Jupiter has anywhere between 80 and 95 moons? You'd think there'd be a specific number, but scientists are still discovering new ones. Among all these moons, Io stands out as the most volcanically active body in our entire solar system. Its surface is a chaotic landscape, dotted with hundreds of volcanoes and vast lakes of molten lava. But landing on Io is no simple task. Jupiter's magnetic field is extremely powerful, much stronger than Earth's, and Io is only 422,000 kilometers away from Jupiter. This proximity means Io is subjected to intense electromagnetic forces. Every second, Jupiter strips off about a ton of material from Io. This material forms a cloud of charged particles that follows Io in its orbit around Jupiter. The gas giant charges these particles with radiation, transforming the cloud into plasma. Scientists call this a plasma torus, but essentially it's a donut-shaped cloud of intense radiation. This plasma torus poses a significant hazard. Any spacecraft approaching Io must be equipped with advanced radiation shielding to protect against these lethal levels of radiation. Upon landing, one would be greeted by Io's extreme environment. The moon's surface is constantly changing due to the immense gravitational pull from Jupiter and its neighboring moons, Europa and Ganymede. This gravitational tug-of-war causes what's known as tidal heating, generating internal friction and heat within Io, fueling its intense volcanic activity. Io's surface is dotted with hundreds of active volcanoes. Many of them shoot fountains of lava dozens of kilometers into the air. These eruptions are so powerful that they can be observed from space. Temperatures near these volcanic regions can soar up to 1,600 degrees Celsius. Even away from the volcanoes, the average surface temperature hovers around minus 130 degrees Celsius. This extreme variation means any protective suit would need to handle both intense heat and bitter cold. But that's not all. The atmosphere of Io is primarily composed of sulfur dioxide, a toxic gas. Breathing it would be fatal. Moreover, Io's atmosphere is incredibly thin, almost a vacuum, so a pressurized suit with its own oxygen supply is essential. Radiation is another major concern. The intense radiation from Jupiter's magnetosphere bombards Io constantly. Without proper protection, one would receive a lethal dose of radiation in a very short time. In reality, surviving even 5 seconds on Io's surface would be nearly impossible with current technology. The combination of extreme temperatures, a toxic and thin atmosphere, intense radiation, and relentless volcanic activity makes Io one of the most inhospitable places in the solar system.